and you know, there's a pretty large turnout of people, which is not the usual, but thank you for coming. Well, today I'm actually sort of kind of organized. So I do have like a little few slides or whatever, and about an hour left to show them in. I just came here to talk about some prop making and some of my process and some tools and whatnot for you guys who are interested in doing these as well to make props. Oh, thank you. But anyways, yeah, you've probably seen my work like, well, online, and I think Kotaku just picked up this thing right here, from Assassin's Creed 3, that's one I'm known for, AC. So, anyways, I scroll over now. Yeah, there's my quality presentations, which kind of crash and burn. So I just got some pictures. So, well, first, and first off, I want to go over a couple things. You know, I've been refurbishing my shop. I basically have a downstairs basement workshop now. But when I started, you know, because a lot of people think that you need this big ILM workshop with a big, you know, warehouse to work in. And when I started, I actually started making props on like a 2-foot by 2-foot table in a crappy little apartment with like some plastic sheeting taped up to the ceiling. And you know, I kind of pretty much had about a 3-foot square workspace to build in without, like, you know.
Life.
So really, when I started off building, when I first started doing my props, where is it? Where's my computer? Scroll up. The desktop. Let me find the desktop. Hold on a moment here. Sorry, guys. But hello. Presentation. Uh-oh, where's my panel presentation stuff? Oh, snap. Don't tell me I lost it. Oh, well, there it is. But yeah, so when I first started, like, here's a few things that I wound up working with. For the most part, this is a, yay. First and foremost, safety. Like the plain old little dust masks like these are alright for just some general stuff, but if you're going to be working with MDF or working with MDF or Centra and other stuff, you really don't want that in your lungs. So you want to get a good respirator. You can get it from Home Depot, and safety goggles, because you know, even these things that you slip behind them, you don't want to put out your eye with splinters and whatnot. So I just want to go and get those out there ahead of time, because I have poked myself in the eye with things, and I was taken out of the workshop for about 3 months because I wasn't wearing a respirator. So don't do that, it's stupid. So these are actually for maybe about $100 if you go to like Harbor Freight, if you have one near you. You get most of the tools you really kind of need to just start actually making like puppies like these. So you know, this is a jigsaw. You can get like a nice cheapo for about $20 at Harbor Freight. That's my DeWalt, which later on, you know, I ended up upgrading from like crappy little Black & Deckers. Most of those kind of suck. Don't get the starter Black & Decker and expect to cut through a big chunk of red oak, or you're gonna die. It's gonna die. So a nice like basic jigsaw. You could do it with a handsaw, but it'll take a while. You get annoyed. Belt sanders are great if you have one. If you don't have one, you know, it won't kill you. But you're just going to be spending more time with rasp and files and stuff like that. That one, I think about $100 I wound up picking up from Home Depot. And if you get one, you see the vent on the side? Don't get one like that. Get one with the vent on the other end, on the end, because that thing likes to clog and it sucks. So, and this is actually a mini lathe. I could pick this up for about $120 at Harbor Freight as well. And I'll use it to turn like random things. This is one of Eddie's others from Fallout New Vegas. And did I drop something? Oh, it's my mold, because I did molding and cast it afterwards. But you can actually use the lathe, you know, with like some, you know, to turn out some round parts, grips, handles, whatever. And I love that thing. And one thing actually is great about it too is that you see that piece that's on there, you don't have to just turn wood. Like I'll pour my 2-part resins into like a tube and then shove it on the lathe, and you get like a really nice smooth finish on that without having to deal with the grain of the wood and whatnot. So that's like a cheapo mini woodworking lathe. And then drill presses, I have one. It's not necessary, but you might want to get a drill. That's necessary. You know, so this little Black & Decker's all right. If you want to get ones that are a little thinner, those really kind of help because they could actually get around corners a little better. And I mean, I personally don't like to use cordless ones. They kind of bug me. But, and these guys right here, which is probably some of the most important tools I've been using, which are rotary tools. See, these are the Dremel here, and then this is like the Harbor Freight, like cheapo variant. And, you know, it doesn't have as much power. So, you know, I get a basic Dremel, like a 2-speed Dremel, and some, like, bits. Is this visible? Can you guys see it? Okay, awesome. Awesome. Yeah, so some grinders and a coarse and medium sanding drums, little sanding disc thing. Those work well, and I actually did most of my shaping after the initial cuts with the Dremels. You know, for most of the major cuts and major shaping. So you don't want to have to stay with a file for like a whole day. And there's some other bits. So over the years, I just collect more tools. If something dies, I might actually use it in another prop or something. And these guys right here, they're called Surforms. They're like rasps, S-U-R-F-O-R-M, I think. You can get it from Home Depot for like about $5 to $6, and the long one's like about 13, 14. And that actually takes material away quickly. And then there's holes in it, so it actually takes the shavings away from your piece. So, you know, you just don't want to put a big dusty pot.
It's kind of like a cheese grater.
Yeah, thank you. So, a cheese grater. So, you know, so I did a lot of those shapings for this with it. The handle for the tomahawk actually was about twice the thickness, and in about 15 minutes I actually sanded it down with a Surform and shaped it. So it's got like a little curve and whatnot. So it's one of my favorite tools. And then of course lots of sandpaper. So I have up to like 2,000 grit, but for most of the purposes, most of the projects, I can go up to about 400 to 800, especially if it gets painted. You know, it gets primed, and then eventually I go up to 1,000 grit and then buff it. And then files, plain files, and sandpaper. What I'll do is I'll make my own sanding blocks, and I'll just take just a sheet of sandpaper. It's a brand called, not the Greater Grit, Sandblaster sandpaper, which actually lasts a lot longer versus like the cheapo Greater Grit, which just, you know, suck. So I'll take some of that. It's more expensive, but they're good for sanding blocks, so they'll last longer. So I just take them, crazy glue them down with scraps of wood, and I could actually cut those scraps in different shapes and stuff and fitting, you know. So there's another picture. And oddly, scroll saws. Just about everybody I know, including myself, who got their hands on a scroll saw, have gotten their hands on good ones for about $50. Oftentimes you'll find Home Depot clears these things out. I don't know if people just don't buy them, they get discontinued. But they're nice for cutting out fine details. And, you get them cheap. You find them used as well. Pawn shops and thrift stores. Sometimes you'll find that in the tool department. And, well, we don't need that. So one thing, if you're actually doing it regularly and they have the space, even in the garage, is get some pegboard. Yeah, get some pegboard and just hang some of your tools. Because I have like 6 or 7 hammers, mainly because I couldn't find a hammer and I bought another one. So there's the ever-growing collection right there. So don't ask about the mallet.
1 is cheap, 10 isn't.
Yeah, I think I have like 5 or 6 mallets as well for the same reason. And now I actually know where the heck all those dumb things are, and I'm behaving and putting them back. So, and then this is actually some of the materials I like to use. This is Bondo. There's a lightweight body filler. I got that big tub. I don't use it too much because, you know, it's lightweight. It kind of gets beaten a little more. But the gold Bondo, just kind of green. Most Bondo usually see it kind of turns out pink. That stuff looks like kind of like a pink-green puke when you mix it. And these things right here, there's little tubes of catalyst. And when you pick up your Bondo, your thing has like a little clear top on there. Make sure that's in there because sucky people like to steal those. So go and make sure you got your catalyst because you kind of mix the dye about that much and squirt a little bit of Bondo, like the catalyst next to it, mix it up, and well, within 10 minutes it's hard and you can sand it. So, that's it's great for filling. Actually, the whole back of this cylinder was built up using Bondo and sanded with like a 2000 grit, down to 2000 grit sandpaper, and now it's all nice and shiny. Yeah. So,
Do you ever use epoxy sculpt?
yes, I do. It kind of gets sticky,
Yeah.
I actually do. I think I have epoxy sculpt in this pile of pictures somewhere. Where to go? Ah, here.
There it is, yeah.
There's the epoxy sculpt. I have like 2 big old super tubs like that, and I've used it like 3 or 4 times because I'm also impatient because it takes a while to set. It's a 2-part epoxy. You could get in a variety of colors. I have like white and terracotta, but it kind of gets in your fingers. But you can knead it if you knead it, and you gotta knead it evenly. Make sure it's fully kneaded, fully mixed. And how much working time did it have again?
I think it depends because they have different times. What does it say on the
That
package?
one.
It doesn't say on
It's on the back.
Doesn't say on the
Hey,
package.
so,
But it's got better working time than
yeah.
Bondo, so
Yeah.
it's moldable
'Cause I
where Bondo isn't.
I think it has about a couple hours working time, and then full cure, like the full rock hard cure is about 24 hours.
Yeah.
But that stuff is strong. I mean, dang, it's good stuff. So you can find this at
Engineer guy.
yeah, the Engineer Guy. If you guys are local, there's a place down by the airport called the Engineer Guy. At theengineerguy.com. They also have classes and stuff like that. So really, they're good people, and they've had major experience, a lot of experience. So they know my fiance because I usually go, honey, I need some 325. So those dumb pictures again. Organization. Oh, no, you can't see that yet. So, and let's see what's over here. Okay, that's just like a big pile of brass because I want to start steampunking. And, one thing is kind of defining materials, especially if you're more in the steampunk community, or even, just for props and period and original designs. Going to thrift stores and raiding their brass department, grabbing chandeliers, grabbing just about anything. I mean,
Candle holders.
Candlestick holders, chandeliers, displays, clock, giblets. I mean, I have like 4 or 5 boxes in here, so maybe by next year I'll have like time machine. So, yeah, so, and well, there's like the beginning of my new, that's like a little bit of when I was pouring and a couple insignias. So this is actually some of the stuff here. This is called Smooth Cast 300. This stuff is actually, I forgot how much fun it is to use these because I usually use the 325s, which actually dry clear. But Smooth Cast 300 actually, it's actually a two-part clear. You mix them, and it kind of does what's called blooming, and you actually see it all trying to turn white and goes, yeah, and it feels kind of, it's like, hey, I'm actually doing something productive today. So, and you could kind of tint it. So this actually was with the black tint, and you that's actually the 300. There's the 325 series, and those actually dry in like a really kind of clear amberish color. So you add like a black dye in there, and you get a black udder. So, and one here's, pull this. This is actually, this is like Hasio's guns from Dot Hack. And the original sculpt was made from, this is poplar and a couple washers. So you could always use everyday objects in there in its place instead of having to like hand sculpt. That's kind of silly. Use a washer. So these are, this is actually the original sculpt for this. So I actually built up the box. This is the mold for it. So this is actually a two-part mold of the gun, cylinder, chamber, barrel. So, and I kind of bopped this a little bit, so I had to go and cut it out of there because I didn't use enough, you know, release. Yeah, I mean, I should have used sawnite, just use a little dust thing. Yeah. Anyways, so one thing is, it's kind of neat about these is that things like powders, silicone powders, not silicone powders, just metallic powders, you could brush the insides of the molds and pour your resin in there. They actually turn out like this. So that kind of just saved you a step. And you know, you don't have to just use, so this is actually a company called, I can't remember their trade name, but if you look up GL and MP.com, goldleafmetallicpowders.com, it'll bring you to their site. I think they're still using that. And they have tons of these powders. And some aren't as like ultra cheap. I mean, I think maybe some of them are like 4 ounces for like 18 bucks. But I've gotten 4 ounce, the 4 ounce one of aluminum, extra brilliant aluminum that I've purchased. That's lasted me like
A long time.
yeah, it's lasted, the thing's maybe about a third of the way down, and I've had it for about 5-6 years. So, yeah, this looks like a fresh pull. Not a super fresh pull, but it's got a little powder here. So actually, if you want to pass one of these things around. Sorry if there's a little silver on your fingers. So, so that's actually the pull, and I don't think I really had to do too much by way of touching it up. So, so in order to kind of save on the silicone, I actually kind of did a little thin, and then this stuff right here is called Plastipaste, which is, I mean, it's not necessary. You could also use plaster, you know, but I just wanted to try this out because I had a tub that was going to expire soon. So, and it's actually a pretty light. It's kind of prickly. Don't you want to be nickname? So that's like Plastipaste, and you just put it on fairly thin, and it makes her a pretty nice shell. And so there's a couple of those. There's a So now some of the other materials besides like poplar and the woods you find at Home Depot, especially if you're going to do props that aren't like natural wood, you're going to be, you know, if you mess it up, you could Bondo over it. So for the most part, I'll use like red oak and poplar for most of these props. So then MDF. MDF is Actually, let's go this way.
MDF is like the,
Medium density fiberboard. It's like taking cardboard and super compressing it. So it's a little bit frizzy. I mean, you know, it kind of feels frizzy when you're done, but you go and take crazy glue and like a little tab of paper or something and slick it with crazy glue. You actually wind up with a pretty solid, smooth surface. You get that surface to a solid and smooth finish. So the handle for the Daedric sword is passing around like the pommel, just the bottom. That's not finished MDF, that's just sanded. And then the grip is, the dark areas of the grip are slicked with the crazy glue and then sanded down. You can sand it down to like 2000, fluff it like mirror shine. So it's pretty nice stuff. I mean, it works nice. But just make sure you have a dust mask or something, because crazy glue, you know, it'll send off fumes. So, and you don't want that up your nose. It's awful. So, yeah, so anyways, with the rest of this one, so this is basically just primed, and I used the Dremel with a cutoff wheel, and actually put like the kind of like rough cut edges on there. So, so that was those, and then, yeah, then here's this one actually I planned on lighting, so I put a couple grooves in. I'm going to recut the grooves here. Put a pair of grooves in. I'll run some wire and solder some LEDs in there, and then there'll be a switch on the handle and little wires in here, and there'll be a little battery right here. So you turn it on. It's like, oh my God, it's the dragon's game. So, there you go. So that's actually, and this is one of my, you know, I just really wanted to do a sword, so I decided to do the Daedric, and I still have a couple other pieces done. So, this is one of the other projects, which is Squall's Gunblade from Final Fantasy VIII. And, you know, this is a guy's getting married, so it's like a Final Fantasy VIII themed wedding. And he needs a really nice gunblade, so. I know, isn't it cool? I mean, I'd love to do an AC wedding, but you know, I'm a fiance. So, you know, so this is actually built with a single action mechanism, so it kind of has a little trigger, you can pull it. Oh my God, it feels so good. So, this is actually built. Do I have like a little, I think I do have, yes I do. Gunblade 1. There's stuff in it. Awesome. So there's a couple things. First off, when I did this project, first I wanted to tackle the worst parts. So I looked through tons of references and drew up a lion heart, and then there's the rest of the. Excuse me. There's the rest of the blade. Thing's actually 41 1/2 inches or something like that. So it's a big old thing. And there's like the build. So I kind of did most of the views, so I kind of have a general idea of, you know, how to do it. Because a lot of times I know that one of my early mistakes in prop making, something based on some series that just wasn't something like, I'm going to craft together a sword, was just saying I really like that design and then just not looking at the reference when designing it. Because I think like the biggest part of having a successful prop is drawing up some good design, good blueprints, so you know where things are going. So your blade or whatnot doesn't wind up all fat or, you know, not the right size. So there's the Daedric sword. So and these little holes were actually, I kind of dot the holes, and then when I'm done, I'll draw them down and chop wherever. So that wound up being the designs. I did this in Inkscape, which is a freeware program. It's vector based. I know a few people have asked me about tutorials for it, but I barely knew what the heck I'm doing, so sorry.
There's lots of tutorials online.
Yeah, I mean the Inkscape tutorials are hard to find. it seems like half the guys don't know what they're doing either. But or they do, but they made it too convoluted for us guys who are like, I want to draw a line. I don't make a shape. Inkscape is actually decent once you figure it out. So I pulled hair and diddled around with it for about a week, and then I kind of had a clue. After I was done with the design, there's another program called Poster Razor, P-O-S-T-R-E-R-A-Z-O-R. Let's see, Poster Razor. So, yeah, Poster Razor. You can't read that. Yeah, so this is, if you don't have...
Stuff came back.
Let's see if the Daedric plate comes back.
It's coming right here, so
Oh no! I got that whistle. But yeah, so this is actually a really cool program, and it's called Poster Razor. And if you don't have like a large format printer or Adobe Illustrator that could chop up like your files into full scale images, this is like a really good way to a good program to chop up your stuff. So when I had, say, my little friend Eddie, so here's a little side view of Eddie. Yeah, he's sort of there. So and then I want him to be, say, 12 inches across or something, the whole image. I choose the overlapping size and next. Chop it, let it chop itself up, let it chop it up. And it's really nice because it'll print out all those things and then all the segments separately. So you don't have to, like, if you did it in Photoshop or any other like anything but Adobe Illustrator, which is a lot of money, you know, you gotta kind of move the printing area, and you do that like 55 times for a glider, and then you just like, no. So, so that actually outputs it to pretty much a PDF file. So you can actually see the separate pages. So you print them all out and tape them together, and you have yourself a nice blueprint without all the hassle. So Poster Razor, I'm always endorsing it, and I even donate it to them because they're awesome. They save me lots of time. So, you didn't have that. And then I kind of drew up these plans. Dang blasted. I drew up these plans for the trigger mechanism, and I think I actually bought these because once I went up and I drew those up, afterwards you kind of see all like the changes that I made on the fly. So ignore those. This just kind of like just a general idea of a little mechanism there. So it did get modified. So this was my first run with the lovely Lionhearts. Sitting in front of my TV watching Star Trek Deep Space Nine with an X-Acto and thank you, a couple sheets of styrene. Isn't that great? So much fun. So I wound up doing that. And there's a blade. So there's like the blade. This was also MDF, and I actually laid it flat against my belt sander to actually taper the blade a little bit so it would be more accurate to the game. But it actually caused a little bit of bowing because of the heat. Thank you. And you know, I want to put like a little bit of a bow, which you'll want to say what happened with that later. So since I found it easier to actually X-Acto blade out the lions instead of, you know, carving it and actually having that perfect depth. I instead just embedded this whole styrene thing into the blade. So there it is with like a little router attachment for my Dremel, where I kind of gouged away. Make sure I'm wearing the mask, you know, no MDF in the lungs, you. There's a trigger, which is actually just stacking alternate thickness and, you know, stacking the layers of styrene up. And there's a trigger.
Where do you get your styrene?
Okay, locally in, well, where I am, on my side of town, I'm out of Douglasville, I get mine out of a place called Kerbel Plastics. And, you know, going to Hobby Town and paying like $15 for 3 thin old sheets like this, it's kind of silly when you just go to like an actual sign company, you know, a company that manufactures plastic, and you can get a big old monster sheet and stuff for like, have you done it before? I can't remember. It's been a while, because I mean, I purchased stuff.
I'm having trouble
like,
finding it in Nashville.
Oh,
so
yeah, because I mean, I purchased my stuff like 2 years ago. I'm still working through it.
yeah, but it's,
So-
you can also, sign shops
Yeah, sign
use it a
shops
lot, and
carry
you can
it.
get their scraps.
Yes.
Sometimes they'll say, please take it out of our way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes you want to put a little stingy, but find the young ones. The bosses tend to be a little more stingy, but find the underemployees. Yes.
Where can you find the MDF?
My medium density fiber board could be found at Home Depot
Awesome.
and Lowe's. They come in various thicknesses. Do I have my little samples? Yes, I do. So they have 1 inch,
Sounds perfect for something I have planned.
3/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch bound, and then the stuff is kind of bumpy on the back.
MDF is like, you know the stuff they make knock together furniture out of?
Yeah.
The
MDF is like a high quality version of that.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
So it won't explode on you.
Yeah, like the hardboard is the stuff you could find.
Yeah,
Hardboard
it sounds perfect for
soft.
something I have planned.
It's like 4 foot by 8 foot sheets of hardboard, which is that knockout round stuff, for about $10 for like a monster sheet. And I actually
Yeah, it weighs
use
a
that
ton.
for it. So, yes, lady in the front there. Yes.
First of all, hi.
Hi there.
Okay, and second of all, I find to get into costuming as a lifetime thing or part of something. And when I go to if I ever go to Home Depot when I do this, what's your rule on measuring the wood when you want to do a prop for it? They say like the whole measure right, measure twice, cut once, because I'm not good at measuring myself.
Ah, well, my fiance like measures like 4 times and cuts twice. I just bring my blueprints and go, does this fit? That's pretty much it. I mean, that's one of the big things about having my blues. Is that outside of just taking a tape measure and going, I don't need a plank that long. You know, so just measure the width of the thing and then like the length, and then find out, and, you know, they decide the thickness of the plank, board, or whatever. So, but it's not. You know, it's not really difficult if you have yourself a little blueprint. So, is that kind of, did that answer your question?
And my second question about the blueprint itself is that when you print it out, would you print out on your big printer, or can you just go somewhere like Kinko's and print out that big?
I don't, well, this one I actually wound up, I think I ended up drawing part of this in the end. But like some other ones with like the gun blade, I'm sorry I didn't bring those. That, again, I had it on my computer, and once I drew up my plans, then I took the overall measurement, length I needed it in, and then I just brought it into Poster Razor and said, I need it like 51 inches, like 41 inches wide. And then it chopped it up into PDF file, into multiple pages with an overlapping edge too. So you could actually just go and tape the whole thing together and walk over to Home Depot with it. And it's cheaper than, you know, the large format printer at Kinko's and whatever. So I could just print this out on my little.
So like a poster sign place like this.
And
Yeah.
Home Depot and Lowe's,
Mhm.
if you're getting like a big 4x8 sheet and you have no way to get it home,
They'll cut it for
they'll
you.
cut it
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah, they'll cut it for you.
They'll
So-
do the first cut for free, but they're very cheap on subsequent cuts, so you can
Oh,
get
they're still
something.
charging you? They gave up on that around me.
Well, you know what? If you're a regular
They're just like,
customer, a lot of times they'll just do it for you, especially if they're not busy. They'll do, you know, 2-3 cuts for you.
Because I think that Lowe's actually has discontinued doing it. Because, like, I don't know too many of those guys who are actually putting little tick marks in their box. It's more papers for them to fill out. So I don't even see the signage up anymore. So you could, like, hey, I got this great big 4x8 foot sheet of, like, insulation foam, and I can't fit it in my Honda. So, you know, I've done that. And, well, this is actually, this is what, insulation foam. Don't breathe this in either. Wear your mask. And if you're sanding it like a surf firm, it gets everywhere and it's staticky. So you look like a pink Michelin Man or something. So,
Your cat will turn pink.
yes, everything will turn pink. You will turn pink along with your cat. So the cat's not lonely. So, well, with this,
Got another question over there. Guy behind the blanket.
oh, yeah. He's just, ooh. That'd be fun.
You keep mentioning using a mask. I've tried looking at masks. They come in a variety of designations based on what types of particles they filter out.
Okay,
Is there a particular one you recommend or one that's suitable?
I
for
cannot
certain
remember
things?
the exact rating of it, but I just got this bad boy this past month. Let me see if I can find it again. Equipment. This is one of those no-wish approved ones right here, this pink one. This is